I have been fascinated with the unknown and paranormal realms since childhood. After a profound experience with my grandmother's spirit 20 years ago, I have been on a quest to observe, study, investigate, and communicate with the afterlife and beyond. It's been an ongoing journey of exploration and discovery, one that has taught me how mortality and the spirit world are forever bonded through the veils of time. And welcome to another episode of the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond. I am your host, Nicole Strickland, on this Thursday, February 11th. You're listening to the show on WLTKDB.com or theletstalk.com. Make sure to join the chat room in there. You can do that through Facebook because tonight's guest is very generous in offering a free book giveaway. Before we bring tonight's guest in, I do want to honor my good friends and treasured, beloved RMS Queen Mary crew member, Ralph Rushton, who passed away peacefully with his family on February 4th. Ralph was a wealth of knowledge of hospitality functions of the Queen Mary. He worked on the liner in the mid-50s, 1950s, all the way to 1952. Worked his way up from an honest bellboy to commis waiter and cabin class dining room waiter as well. And he even had the opportunity of meeting actor Rock Hudson and the Duke of Windsor and Mrs. Simpson, and affectionately had a nickname for the Queen Mary. He called her his girlfriend. So Ralph, tonight, with the sounding of your girlfriend's whistle, and on behalf of your entire Queen Mary family, near and far, we wish you fair winds and smooth seas on your eternal journey beyond the stars. Voyage on, Ralph. Okay, so tonight I am so excited to have none other than Dale Kaczmarek joining us, president of the Ghost Research Society. So let's get right into it. Dale, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's always great to hear you. You have so much knowledge on the paranormal, supernatural, and ghost research. So thank you so much for joining. So, I mean, I know a lot of people listening, already know a lot about the Ghost Research Society, but in case there's one that don't, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of the Ghost Research Society and how you came to be involved with it?
Well, it all started way back, actually through my childhood years with my parents and grandparents telling me ghost stories, which really kind of what's got me on the road to where I am today. But back around the mid-1970s or so, we just had a bunch of like-minded people interested in the paranormal. Martin B. Ricardo was the individual that really kind of pushed me into this, and I appreciate that greatly. We're kind of co-founders back in 1977, what then was called the Ghost Trackers Club. And I worked there as 5 years as a research assistant before taking over in 1982 and then changing the group's name to the Ghost Research Society, which is a bit more indicative of what we actually do, ghost research. And I don't like to call myself a ghost hunter because that kind of like signifies that I'm out there, hunting for ghosts,
I'm with you on that.
I like to say I'm a paranormal investigator or ghost researcher or something like that. And I'm not an expert. I don't think there are any experts in the field. I think they're just people that kind of have more whiskers, so to speak. They've been around the block.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's you've been around for so long. How has the team evolved? Like in terms of its investigations from when it started to now? You guys go everywhere. You've been to some very iconic places.
Yeah, and I got so much on my so-called bucket list to still do. Including up there to California and your neck of the woods. But generally speaking, when I first started out back in the mid-1970s, there was no paranormal equipment per se at all. What I ended up using back then was a 35 millimeter camera. I used a cassette tape recorder, and my EMF device was a compass. So basically, we had very rudimentary equipment back then. Of course, then later on, as equipment began to come out that really wasn't made for ghost research, it was really like, K2 meters and cell sensors and things like that that were really meant to tell you if you had dangerous EMF fields in your home. But myself and other people began to adapt those because we figured that if there's a spirit around and there's an energy generated by that spirit, they might cause a deviation in electromagnetic fields, which would set those meters off. And indeed, we had some very strange reading early on that we couldn't explain. Of course, I was also using a lot of black and white high-speed infrared film back then that was very, very useful. I was tremendously lucky to get some really incredible photographs of shadow figures and things that were right in front of my eyes, but I didn't see them because of the infrared film. Right. Unfortunately, everybody goes digital, which is kind of good because you have kind of that instant picture that you can actually see, and then you can go back and try out other experiments. So, the equipment and so forth has basically it just leaps and bounds over what I was when I first started out.
Yeah, there's so much of it nowadays. I guess for me, I tend to kind of stay more along the lines of classic equipment. I don't go overboard. I have a camera, audio recorder, some environmental monitoring equipment, but there's so much to choose from. And I think that you have to be, very careful in choosing the right equipment, because I think some of it out there is maybe not beta tested, not necessarily good for paranormal research. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Oh yeah, there's our group currently has about $14,000 worth of ghost hunting gear.
Wow!
That I've collected starting all into the late 1970s, right on to present day. And usually, if I find something that's kind of interesting on the internet, or somebody's building something, and there's so many people out there building equipment nowadays. Digital dowsing is one of my favorite places to go, but so many other places that have these very unique minds out there that are building equipment. I'll try to find something that's interesting that maybe is very unique, and I'll try it out. And many times it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't, so it kind of gets put on the side. A couple of the pieces of equipment we got just recently that are very, very useful is the GS2 laser grid. I don't know if you've heard about that, but
I have, yes.
It's a laser grid that actually sends out, not only the little dots like normal laser grids do, but there's a little screen on the back. So if something comes and breaks the beam, it'll actually show you the configuration of what just broke the beam. Which is really neat.
Yes.
The temperature, the distance, all different types of parameters. And things like that are very, very useful. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the way you want to look at it, if you're not watching it, you have to put a camera on it and make sure you're taping it the whole time to see if something kind of moves through the field. But we were in Gettysburg, and we used it the first time in Gettysburg, right along with Iverson's pits were, which we're going back again in August of this year.
Fantastic.
And constantly we're getting things just moving in front of the field constantly. And this was not bugs. It wasn't insects. Bugs or insects are not even big enough probably to set it off. And it would have been little tiny dots going through there. These were giant things going through there. And the neat thing about this, if the whatever you're picking up has some sort of temperature to it. If it's a hot temperature, it'll be red. If it's a cold temperature, it'll be blue. So right away, you can kind of get that idea that maybe a real person might have walked through. So you get kind of like a heat signature.
Right. That's good when you have the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say there's just a lot of neat equipment out there that we've been trying and we've been adding to our arsenal.
Yeah, try it out and experiment with it and see what works for you. I have heard of that laser grid, and so I think I'm probably going to add it to because I have some of the old laser pens from 5-10 years ago. And,
we still got those.
They do. They're great for, especially when we run words and stuff. They're great. But yeah, I have heard of that one. So I definitely want to add it to my collection. Speaking of shadow figures.
Remember when we were actually in Waverly Hills, and when you came to Waverly Hills with us, we were using a laser experiment as you were walking down the hallway, being very brave by yourself. And
remember that? Oh my gosh!
Shining a laser on basically a laser beam on your back as you were going down to see if something walked between you and the laser beam. And a couple times it looked like it kind of just was disrupted for a couple seconds. Which is pretty interesting.
I remember that. There was another time, too. I think it was me and Nicole Tito. We were sitting, and then so I forget who was shining. It might have been Joey or Lisa. Someone was shining the laser beam down the hallway. And I distinctly remember the little red dot coming closer and closer and closer. And then right as it got super close, I saw a shadow figure right before my eyes. It was incredible. That was such an incredible investigation. Yeah, I forgot to mention at the beginning the show, I've had the lucky pleasure of working with the Ghost Research Society, and then I think it was 2009 when we went to Waverly Hills, and then also investigated the Lincoln Theater at Troy Taylor's conference, which was awesome. So hope to do that again with you guys soon. But speaking of shadow figures, you had an experience at, was it Allegheny Lunatic Asylum that you wanted to talk about? What was that like?
Well, Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia is 256,000 square feet building. It's the second largest stone building anywhere in the world next to the Kremlin. I mean, it's absolutely immense. And we were there with a public group, but we only had each floor. We only had about 10, 12 people on the floor, which was neat. So we were kind of split off. It was very, very quiet. We got to this hallway, and on one side of the hallway was patients' rooms, and on the other side, it looked like a day room for like visitors to come in and visit the people that are patients of the hospital there. So we all were sitting down, and we had the recorders going, we had the cameras going, and we asked a question. I basically made a statement. I said, would you please come out of your room and go across the hallway? There are friends and relatives waiting for you on the other side over there to talk with you. And no sooner had I said that not only me, but several people saw a shadow, a dark shadow, dart across the hall from one of those patients' rooms into the day room and disappeared.
Wow.
Now, the crazy thing, and this always happens, the camera was facing in the wrong direction.
Of course, right, of course.
So we got the reactions of the people that saw the thing go across, and they jumped up right away. Their eyes got about as big as silver dollars, and they said, did you see that? I said, what did you see? Before I said anything, we saw a shadow. And I've seen a lot of shadow figures in the past at all different locations, and it seems like a lot of people want to put kind of a negative connotation on shadow figures. I believe that it's just the way that the spirit, allows itself to be seen in some cases. That's just a way of manifesting as a shadow. That's
kind of how I explain it too. You're right. I mean, so many people want to, think it's a malevolent energy, and maybe in rare cases it might be, but I'm with you. I think it's just a stage of manifestation, but that's I count personal experiences. I put them in case reports. I mean, you're the one that taught me to do that. And, I think they're equally as important to like objective data. I mean, you had several people witness that, and it seemed to be an intelligent sort of interaction based on your question. So that's phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, Allegheny is another place I really want to go to. So hopefully one of these days.
Yeah,
and then you had another. Oh, sorry, I keep interrupting you. My goodness.
There are places that we've been to several times that I would not hesitate going back to, like Allegheny being one, maybe Waverly Hills being another one.
Yes.
Maybe even Old South Pittsburgh Hospital being another one down in Tennessee. So yeah, I mean, if we ever decided to go back, you're in the welcome list. As always, along with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I wish I lived closer so I can, work with you guys more often, but absolutely. Hopefully after COVID gets later this year, next year for sure. But yeah, Allegheny definitely on my list. Sorry, my internet may have cut out there for a second. I apologize. But you had another experience, too, that you wanted to talk about. Was it Leonards Cave in Tennessee?
Yeah, we were out there actually investigating the Thomas House, which is a very haunted bed and breakfast. And they stuff you with the food, I guarantee you. They give you breakfast and they give you dinner included with each day that you're there. So you get
wow.
meals, and you get to investigate the whole property and everything, the pool and everything. The little girl drowned across the street. There's a church you can investigate, and then they allow you to go into a place called Leonards Cave. Now, Leonards Cave, is on private property, but the owner's son, I believe is what it is, actually allows you and gives you permission because he knows the guy who owns the property. So it's kind of hard to find. It's kind of like a little dirt trail going up, and then all of a sudden you get this big mouth of a cave right there. So you kind of roll up there, and then he tells you just make sure you close the gate when you leave. So be out there as long as you want, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
It's not really a super long cave. I mean, it's they got very big caverns and sometimes little things you have to duck and so forth. But we were doing an area where it was kind of wide open. And we had a couple of things that were very neat that happened to us. So we actually had a K2 meter that was wedged into one of the crevices. And we were asking questions, total darkness, and we're filming with night shot cameras. And one of the questionnaires asked, are you with your family? Nothing. Are you alone? Suddenly the K2 meter shot up to red and actually came flying out of the wall and hit the ground in front of us. And we have it on 3 different cameras that nobody was anywhere nearby, and it was really wedged in it pretty tightly. Now, just after that, I was kind of far back, and I was kind of just videotaping the EVP session to see if anything showed up in night shot. And everybody was to my left and to my front. There was nobody behind me at all. And suddenly I got the sensation of somebody literally had poked me in the back. And I quickly spun around. I wasn't scared. I thought somebody was just, trying to get my attention, one of my team members or something. And there was nobody there. The closest to me was Stan, and he was over to the left. And so I'm looking around, and I didn't see anything. I said, I just got poked in the back. So I'm kind of shooting the camera around to see if anything shows up. And when I later looked at that footage that I have, when I was panning the camera around, I went frame by frame. On a couple of frames, there looks like there's an apparition on the wall, kind of doing like
wow,
kind of looking at me. Now, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're very familiar with her, and she said before that she believes in these types of they're types of apparitions that actually seem like they're formed in the rocks. And that's one of her beliefs, and it's one of my beliefs as well.
Okay.
Nobody around anywhere nearby. We had done research beforehand. We actually went to a local library right down the street. We discovered that they used to use that to store moonshine, and there was an altercation between one of the moonshiners and a county sheriff, where an individual was actually shot and killed in that cave. So, was it a poke in the back, or was it the ghost poking, a rifle or something in my back, telling me to get out of his cave? I'll never know.
That could be, but that's
experience.
Yeah, that could be where you have a historical event matching a paranormal occurrence. But did the apparition? It obviously wasn't shadow based. You actually, well, you know what? Hold that thought, because we're going to take a break, and then when we get back, we can continue the discussion. You are listening to the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond on the WLTADB network with guest Dale Kaczmarek of the Ghost Research Society. Stay tuned.
Controlling transmission. WLTK DB. Let's talk. Ever wanted to host your own radio show? If your answer is yes, then the time to act is now. WLTK DB Let's Talk is now accepting new programming more affordable than ever. You create the show idea and we'll take care of the rest. Not only do we create your program intro and provide broadcast training, but also syndicate you to popular outlets like Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. You get all of this starting at $100 per month. 3 packages to choose from and built to make your wallet happy. Contact us at WLTKDB.com with your show idea and let's bring your dream to life. All topics accepted and you have full rights to your program. Contact us today and reserve your spot on WLTK DB Let's Talk. What are you waiting for? Let's do this.
We didn't invent great sound. We perfected it.
We are controlling transmission.
WLTK DB Let's Talk. Alternative Talk Radio. WLTKDB.com.
22 minutes past. You are listening to the Afterlife Chronicles and Beyond on the WLTKDB network. That's WLTKDB.com. I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, and tonight I have none other than Dale Kaczmarek of the Ghost Research Society. Before the break, Dale was sharing with us a little bit about the history of the Ghost Research Society, fabulous group, it's been around for many years, and some of his experiences on investigations, including the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and Leonards Cave. So let's go ahead and continue Leonards Cave and that experience you had where you were in the back. Now, I did have a question about that apparition. Obviously, it didn't sound like it was shadow-based. Did it have clothing? Could you see any facial characteristics?
Oh, I could definitely see, the screenshot that I took off the actual video. Actually, you can see very distinct facial features. You can see the expression on his face. It's almost like one of ha ha ha, I got you. One of those types of things.
Oh, that's so weird.
Most of his body, you can see him actually, his it's like this, and kind of his elbows on his knee, kind of bending over, just kind of staring at me. It was very strange, and when I again, being in total darkness in a cave, I mean, that is literally the absence of all light when you're in a cave. And
right.
Stanley is standing next to me, and I think you've met Stanley before. And I said, Stanley, I think I just got poked in the back. He goes, oh, well, I think I'm going to get out of here. My best Stanley impression. So, I mean, it's not the first time I've got touched. I mean, I'll say, I'm not like these TV shows that you go out every single time and you get touched. And I think that's really something that's made for TV, more or less. But I've had my hair touched a couple times. I've had somebody rub across my face. I've actually had a general nudge once in a while. But nothing like I've been scratched or slimed or anything like that. But the unusual thing that I seem to be getting a lot more of is actually seeing things, because for the first 10 years or so of my research, I didn't see anything. I mean, maybe I wasn't open enough, in the field. Maybe I was kind of doubting what I was seeing, which kind of, as you know, can kind of turn off your everything. It's like turning off the switch. So,
right.
It was maybe the last 8 or 10 years, maybe 10, 12 years or something like that I've really been seeing a lot more of shadow figures, apparitions, strange things that that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I have to concur on that. It's weird because when I first started, my senses were definitely dampened, and now as I've been going out more, I've noticed that too. Like I hear more, I see more. It's great. I just think it's the exposure and then just being more, like you said, being more open to it. So such great personal experiences. I love when you can have an experience like that. I wonder if there's a historical photo of the men in that altercation that maybe you could compare what you see to an actual photograph in the library. I don't know if
you kind of broke up. You kind of broke up a little bit. I couldn't catch.
Oh, sorry. So Oh, that's okay. So yeah, my internet's weird tonight. Usually it's not like that, so I don't know what's going on. But I'm wondering if there's like a historical photo that you can compare what you saw, to match. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
Yeah, I'm sure there is somewhere down the line. But in the newspaper articles, it was a very small library we went to, and I was really amazed that we even got anything there because the library was literally down the street from where the cave is. So maybe that's why there was some articles inside there, and we actually found some other mentions of the cave and the owners, and that it was used as an Indian burial ground for a while. There was actual Indian bones inside there. It was a moonshine still. There was an actual person shot in there. I mean, so we had all this history before we even went in, so we kind of had an idea maybe what to expect perhaps. And we did actually find some bones in there, but we think they most likely were animal bones and not, human bones or anything like that. But we found this area that we were pretty sure, where the Indians might have used. It was kind of like a raised up little plateau inside there, maybe a couple of feet off the ground, like a big flat tabletop almost, it looked like. And I think maybe that was the area that they might have used for burials or maybe Indian rituals or whatever the case may be, because it just seemed like the rest of the cave was a lot harder to access because those other areas you would have had to crawl through the smaller passages to get through. So these were the larger areas that kind of opened up.
Sounds like a place I definitely want to visit for sure. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about some of your team's protocols. I mean, I consider the Ghost Research Society a very model team. So, share a little bit about, I guess, some of your protocols and like how you approach a case study.
Well, I mean, we always, basically, before we get involved, we try to do a lot of research into the field, to the area that we're going into. If we're going to go into a private home or a private business, usually I'm the one that interviews the people over the phone or maybe through like a Zoom meeting or something like this to kind of get like a one-on-one to figure out what's going on. And then when we go into locations, especially if they're private homes, I always bring in my team that without telling them anything. I bring them an ice cold because I don't want anybody to have any preconceived notions of what's going on.
Excellent.
So all they know is that they're going to a place that's allegedly haunted. And we use a 3-step approach. Well, like phase 1, we go through and we separate into teams of 2. One person has some equipment, the other person has a clipboard, usually with a floor plan of the area, so they can kind of mark down like number 1, something happened here, and then scribble like number 1, I saw something or I felt something, the equipment went off. And they go through the entire house, again, not knowing where the phenomena took place because I didn't tell them. And then when they get done with all that, then they'll sit down and with the client. And before the client has a chance to tell our group what's going on, I like to have our group tell the client what they've picked up, because I think that's even more scientific. And that way, the client's not telling you something and then you're just kind of sending it right back. So,
absolutely.
It's amazing. And really, I don't know. It's just amazing that we hit the spots. It seems like where the activity is. The client, because I already know what's going on, so I'm kind of sitting there and I'm not saying anything. I'm just kind of like watching this and everything. And then later on, I take part of the actual investigation. But it's amusing to watch the client. They're smiling. They say, "Yeah, it's exactly where I had this experience. I had it in here, or I had it in here." And then the client tells our group and the people who have never been there before, what's going on, to see how it matches. And usually it does match pretty significantly. And then we go to phase 3, which is then we set up our cameras, we do EVP sessions, we do other experiments, and then later on we'll review the stuff, do a report, and everybody sends in something about what happened to them, personal experiences, whatever fluctuations they had on their equipment, any EVPs, any feelings, any personal experience of any kind, pretty much, and then package that all together. I'll sit down with the client again. This is before COVID, obviously.
Right.
We would sit down with the client and bring all this stuff back to their home, and then actually go through, everything that we did, and then show them what we picked up. So they can listen to it, and they get a copy of the CD as well. So that's how I like to do all investigations, whether they're private or public. I always like to make sure that wherever we go, whether it's Waverly Hills or someplace else, that I always send back our evidence of what we picked up, to the client, so they can, they can add it to the website, and they can see what else we picked up or whatever. And I know a lot of teams don't do that, but I guess one of the things I've always said in what started to set this team up, that I wanted to make sure that we always got back to the client, and we always made sure that they were well aware of what we picked up.
I mean, yeah, it's funny how a lot of people won't and take the time to review data or write case reports. That's so integral to the entire case study. I mean, at the beginning, you said a clipboard with a map of the location. That is so important. Note-taking is so important. So there you have it, folks. This is why this team is so excellent and has been around for so long. What about some alternative? I mean, one question I have is, what's your thought on using psychic mediums or intuitives on case studies?
Well, first of all, we have a couple of people in the group that I would say are either empathic or intuitive. They may not be full-blown psychics. They maybe haven't developed their skills to the point where they can actually, be a medium or clairvoyant, and actually have communication. But they're able to have feelings and sensation, which we always add, to our case studies and our report at the end. If you have personal experiences, some people get it in different fashions. They may get a headache. They may get pressure in their chest. They may get something on their body, their hair standing up, electric charge, or whatever the case may be. We normally don't use psychics during our first initial investigation, because I always consider the first investigation kind of a fact-finding mission. We're going in there, we're trying to figure out if there's actually something going on, and then trying to also debunk it or find a natural explanation for it. And then once we're not able to do that, then we move into this, the investigation goes into the paranormal, side of it, I guess you would say, where we try to investigate it and try to get some data from that. When we're all done with this, and it really depends on each individual case we do. Sometimes people call us in because they're one of two things. Either they're frightened out of their wits, and they want whatever's there to be gone right away, or they're very curious about it. They might believe that it's a family or friend or loved one, and if we're able to confirm that, then they often say, well, if it's just Uncle Joe or Aunt Millie or something, they can stay. They don't have to go. We're fine. Those are family members. So it really depends what the people want. So I mean, when we get done with our investigation, we don't go in as a ghostbuster. I don't consider myself a ghostbuster. I consider myself more of a researcher trying to pick up information and give it to the client so they can make a rational decision. And then if they decide that, they want whatever is there to be gone, or they want this phenomenon to stop, that's when we would bring in somebody psychically who can then, communicate with the spirit, can through telepathy, through mediumship, through channeling, whatever the case may be, and see if they can alleviate the situation. Because again, most cases, and it's something that I've been studying for a long time, is that many ghosts are there because of untimely death or unfinished business. And once you kind of explain the situation to the spirit that they're not of this world anymore, because maybe they died so suddenly that they think they're still alive, but they can't communicate. Right,
exactly.
So it's like, what's going on? The perfect example is the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah. And I kind of quote that even when I'm doing my ghost tours. Watch some of these movies like Ghost with Patrick Swayze, Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense, or even Nicole Kidman in The Others. All those people that portrayed ghosts did not realize they were ghosts until later in the film because of the way they died, suddenly or tragically.
That brings me to another question. It seems like the entertainment industry is wanting to portray every single ethereal entity as being a demon or being a malevolent energy. I mean, what's your thought on that? And how do you, because that drives me nuts, to be honest. I mean, it's like, really?
I will say one thing about Hollywood pictures. Hollywood has actually done a much better job in recent years portraying ghosts as they are supposed to be portrayed. As those movies I just mentioned, and others like White Noise and Shutter and many others just like that. And I actually helped a bit with the production of the movie White Noise. I was actually contacted by the producers for that.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was refreshing because a lot of times when you look at these motion pictures, towards the end, you look for technical advisors. And technical advisors are those people, like you and I and others who are in the field that advise the production staff of, hey, this is realistic. No, this is too far-fetched. And try to keep them down the straight and narrow. So I think Hollywood has done a rather nice job. It's unfortunately some of these TV shows, these reality TV ghost hunting shows that are on TV, and I'm not going to mention any names because I already get enough hate mail as it is. But I will say that when a lot of these shows first started out, they were just investigating ordinary ghosts, like Casper type ghosts, friendly, mischievous, playful, and everything tends to be demonic, malevolent. They're being attacked, they're being possessed, they're being pushed, their hair is being tugged every single episode. And as you know, that's not the norm. This is far beyond what anybody can experience on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. And the only reason I can say they did that is because that's what sells. That's what gets people, the sponsors happy, because they see that their people are buying their product because more people are watching the shows, and that's what they do that. And a lot of these shows, unfortunately, have clauses in their contract that says if you don't pick up something paranormally, well, you have to fake it, because we need to have evidence on these shows. And that's why I actually turned down a lot of shows. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually the very first investigator in the field by Pilgrim Films to be part of the actual TV show Ghost Hunters.
I don't doubt that, yeah.
And I don't know what happened, why they didn't select me. Maybe it was because of what I said to them about faking evidence and doing stuff and being straight and narrow, and they didn't like that, because that's the reality of ghost research, not necessarily what's on TV today.
Yeah, it's sad, and it's funny. I've seen at least for me, and I'm sorry, my internet's really weird tonight, so I hope you guys can hear me. But our private residence requests, I mean, in the last 2 years, I would say about 75% of them are from people that think they have a DEON in their house. I don't want to laugh. I don't want to come off as that I'm uncaring, but it's just, oh my gosh, it's frustrating.
Well, I think a lot of times too, it's that these people watch these TV shows too. Now, say you're an up-and-coming person. Say you've never been in the field before, okay, and you're just interested in ghosts, and you tune into one of these TV shows and you see these people on TV and they're doing this and that or using equipment, improperly, but you don't know that, and you say, "Oh, hey, this has got to be right because these guys are on TV, so they got to know what they're doing." So then, when you start your group, you fall in the same bad habits that they do on TV. Going into places that everything is demonic, using equipment wrongly, not going in teams of two, all different just bad habits. And I'm going to be starting here in the next week or so classes that I'm going to be teaching online, a whole 8-week, 10-week course on the paranormal that I'm putting together right now. And hopefully I'll have more information on my Facebook page and on the website. Again, not saying that my techniques and methodologies are the only way to ghost research and to do paranormal investigation, but it's because but we've had, through the use of our protocols and methodologies, we've had a lot of good experiences and a lot of good EVPs. So we must be doing something right.
I was just going to say, you must be doing something. Speaking of audio, you have some clips that you wanted to share. Some of them are EVP and some of them are instrumental transcommunication. So I think there are 5 of them. So let's see how we want to do this. Maybe play the clip. How should we do that? Should we play the clip and then you talk about it? Would that sound good?
If you could give me the name of the clip, I can give you kind of a brief intro of where we're at.
Okay. So I have I didn't use in a specific order. It's just, I guess the order, how you listed them. So the first one, I don't know if that's the actual EVP, but I should have just said the place. Sorry about that. St. Mary's is the location.
Okay. Well, St. Mary's is a large hospital in Gary, Indiana. It was actually where Michael Jackson's entire family was born. So it's kind of a rundown, decrepit place now, part of the Gary, Indiana Police Department. And we were actually there using an obelisk in phonetic mode. Now, in phonetic mode, it's able to form its own words using vowels and consonants, putting together words and forming those words into sentences. I had it in my top pocket, walking up 5 flights of stairs. It didn't say a darn word until we got to one room that had boxes and boxes of patients' records. And I often like to take little souvenirs home. My wife doesn't like that at all because she thinks I'm bringing something home. But anyway, one of my friends mentioned, hey, look at all those patients' records, and that's where this clip comes in. It's actually a video clip, but you have an audio as well. If you want to play that.
So go ahead and play that now.
All the records. Oh, take some of those. You take some of that for your. Did it just say get out of here?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Did it? Sorry, I was just joking.
Okay.
So basically, like I said, it had not said a word until we got up to that room. And one of my videographer, Joey Tito, was actually filming that. He was one of 2 people that were actually filming it, actually. And we got to that area, and he goes, oh, look at all those patient records. You want to take one of those? And before he even got that out of his mouth, the obelisk in phonetic mode said, get out of here. Very clear.
I heard that.
Unmistakable. Yeah. And, and after that, it didn't say another word the whole time we were there. So it was really...
That's interesting.
And
very interesting.
It was just something there didn't want us touching anything in that room.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sounds like the record.
Yeah.
And I've listened to all of these beforehand. They're fantastic, fantastic captures. Let's go with the Flight 191. I believe this is an ITC clip that you sent.
Okay, I'm not sure
about that.
I'm not sure.
It's the one. It has the word. I don't know if you can hear my internet tonight. I don't know. I hope you heard me. It's the one that says almost made it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were actually doing we got as close as we could to the actual flight crash of Flight 191 that came down May 25th, 1979. And we always try to get there on the date of and the hour, which is about 3:05 p.m. Now, we were there using an SB7 spirit box, and we were scanning AM very, very quickly. And I don't even know if there was actually a question that was actually asked, but all of a sudden we heard 2 sentences come through. Now, as you know, using spirit boxes and ghost boxes, you might get a word, but when you get a whole sentence coming through in the same voice, that's possible because you're scanning like
exactly
is a station. We actually got somebody comes through that said almost made it, and then after that you will hear it says need power or more power, and we know from the flight that they were amazed, the people on the ground, that pilot was able to keep that thing in the air as long as he did. So he almost made it, and he needed power to get climb. So it's like a residual coming through there that we picked up, and I hope you'll be able to hear it.
That's such a tragedy. Oh my gosh.
How about the flight engineer? Flight engineer Udovich? What's your first name?
Wow. Clear.
Yeah, the
Clear.
second one I actually kind of almost talked over it a little bit. But even talking over it, I mean, he kind of talked over me and kind of said, need power. And that
Need power, yeah.
wasn't quite as clear as the first one, but the first one was almost made it. I mean, it was clear as a bell.
Clear as day.
We got stuff there. I mean, we got stuff that we asked, what's the flight number? And it said 19, and it stopped. We asked, what was your, what kind of plane was it? American came through. We asked, the name Wax came through. We know that Judith Wax and Sheldon Wax, Playboy people, died in the crash. We got, what's your name? Captain Lutz. Captain Lutz came through. So, I mean, we had
Yes.
I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Me too, like all over.
Because
Incredible.
stuff that we got every time we were there, and we're trying to get permission to go on the actual crash site, and I think I found the way to do
I
that.
would love to join you guys on that.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. So as you know, PSA 182 crashed here in San Diego. I believe it was 1978. And I've been to that site. That's another site for you. But such a tragedy. But excellent capture. To, I believe, Old Southburg Hospital, if I have that right. It's the one with registered aid. And then there's an acronym for the person's job title.
Yeah, we were actually, all of us were in the on the floor near the nursery, and we had we were asking. I forget what question was asked, but it was something to the effect like, "Are you on the staff or you're a nurse?" And it comes through, and then I'll just play it.
Yeah, it's clear as day.
Are you assigned to work in the nursery, or are you a nurse on the psychiatric wing? 8?
Sorry, that's my stomach ground.
Maybe aid?
Aid. Oh, yeah.
The nurse's aid?
RN.
That was clear.
No, I mean, how do you figure something like that out? I mean, this is the obelisk again. It's a dictionary mode. It's in phonetic mode, and it's actually talking. It's actually saying stuff to you. It's actually saying it's an aide. It's an RN, a registered nurse, and we're right in the wing where there would have been a lot of nurses in this area because down the hall are the operating rooms, and the nursery is right here. So. Pretty amazing.
That's clear. I mean, the obelisk is great. I use it too, dictionary and phonetic, but phonetic mode's incredible when it can get going. There's another one from the same location starting out with was, and then it's a person's name.
Yeah, this was the year before. We had heard screaming down the hallway, audible, disembodied screaming down the hallway, and none of our group screaming. And then so we came back about a year later or 2 years later, I forget what it was, and somebody was asking, I think Jeannie Chilton from another group from Priam, a very good researcher friend of mine. She said, we were hearing screaming last time. Was that you? And I think this is the clip that you got here, and it actually says the name after it. So we'll play that.
Okay. Go ahead and play it, yeah.
The last time we were here, there was a woman screaming. Was that you? Probably was. I heard that wrong. Something probably was. Were you giving birth? Is that what you were screaming?
It's on the FM scan. This is the faster.
Now, the very unusual thing about that probably came through, but if you listen to the word that comes right after it, it actually says probably was Florence. And
right, that's not I clearly heard that
name. So, we were right down the way this hospital was arranged, and I think it had a lot to do because it changed from time to time. The nursery was next to the psychiatric ward, which is next to the place where mothers were giving birth, and there were operating rooms too. But so to hear screaming coming down the hallway, that would make perfect sense if some mother was giving birth.
Exactly. I'm wondering if could have been a reference to like maybe Florence. I think her name was Florence Nightingale.
Yes.
I don't know. The thought that came in my mind. I have no idea. These are excellent. So the last one we have here, have down McConaughey more than.
Okay.
And that's yeah.
We were at a place called McConaughey Cemetery out in Goshen, Indiana, and we were investigating the site of this cemetery. The cemetery just had a sign. It had no grave markers. They had long been removed, and so at that time we were using something new called the Phasmabox. Now, Phasmabox is something that people don't know. It is an application that you can get at extremesenses.com. It actually scans sound banks and internet radio and adds a reverb and echo effect to it. So we asked the question, how many graves are here? And then you'll hear the response.
How many
awesome.
people?
Go ahead and play that.
Over 100. Did you hear that?
Yeah. That was very cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I am completely sold on this Phasmabox. We have tried other experiments because we had a couple of people from another group that were a bit skeptical about it. As I am anytime I get something new, I try to get all the bugs out of it. So
yes,
the other person said, well, maybe this is kind of far-fetched, but maybe when you're asking questions, you're broadcasting this, and then somebody is then somehow responding to you, and you're picking it up through the Phasmabox. And I said, okay, well, then I'll shut off my microphone on my tablet, so I'm not broadcasting at all, and we're still getting full sentences coming through.
I've heard from other researchers as well that this device or Phasmabox is excellent. I have not used it myself, but it's, from what I've heard, it's like phenomenal.
Yeah, it's only $14.95. It's well worth it. You actually get two versions of it. The second version has a Phasmabox and has a built-in obelisk with a word.
Oh, great. Okay.
You get both. You get both of these for that $15 price, and it's well worth it.
Extremesenses.com, correct?
You have to use it, unfortunately, only with a tablet or a laptop. It won't work on a phone.
Okay, so and is it?
It's got to be a Windows.
It's not Windows. Windows. That's what I thought. Windows based. Okay. Definitely want to try that. Oh my God, these are such amazing. I just love audio. Like I could EVPs and Spirit Box recordings all day, all night. So thanks so much for sharing them. We have about 5-6 minutes left in the show. So let's do your book giveaway. And so what book would you like to? It's so generous of you to do that as well. So just so you know, U.S. and Puerto Rico residents only. So those that are in the chat. So if the first person answers let's go with when was the Ghost Research Society for what year? Let's go with that. First person that answers that in chat gets the book. What book would you like to give away?
I'm going to give away the Illuminating the Darkness, The Mystery of Spook Lights.
Love that book. Excellent. I read that book, I swear, in 2 days. I couldn't put it down. I might read it again. Awesome.
It's a bunch of research I did about ghost lights and spook lights all across the country. Many of them I had a chance to actually investigate. Many I had personal experience, and some were actually able to debunk. So
yeah, it's a great book. Again, I've read it. So question again is, when was the Ghost Research Society formed? First person that can answer that in chat gets the book, and then I'll go ahead and get that person's address and send it on to you so they can get a copy. Thank you so much. So before we end, I have a lot of investigations planned for the year and even next year. And then you mentioned the class that you're starting. What other events do you have coming up for the team?
Well, we're looking into, we're still in the planning stages because of COVID and also because of the very weird Chicago winters we have over here. We had about 12 to 15 inches of snow in the last couple of weeks here. But we are going to go back to some places that I haven't been back to since 1984, including hopefully we'll get a chance to go back and investigate Fort Sheridan, the former Army base up the northern part of the Chicagoland suburbs. And I also recently got some other interesting tidbit information about another site. I can't let it out of the bag yet, unfortunately, because I hope it'll go through, but it'll be a fantastic local investigation here as well. We're planning on going out to the Buddy Holly crash site this year, hopefully, to investigate out in Clear Lake, Iowa, possibly No Ping Sanitarium up in Duluth, Minnesota, the Blixa Axe House, Gettysburg, Hales Bar Marina, maybe the Bell Witch Cave. I know I'm
fantastic.
We're going to end up having to camp out here in Chicago if you want to go to all those, Nicole.
Right. I know. I'm going to have to come out there for a month or something. Oh, my gosh. I can't wait till COVID goes away. And yeah, because it's been a while since I've researched with you guys. So I'm really looking forward to that again. People already know your contact information, but for those that don't, how can people reach you? Website, socials?
Sure, they can get me on Facebook. I don't do much Twitter, but they can get me on Facebook. I just search for my name or the Ghost Research Society page. You can also go to my website at ghostresearch.org, or they can simply email me at dale@ghostresearch.org.
Perfect.
If they got a photograph they want to share, or a personal experience, maybe it's something that has happened to them they don't have an explanation for, I'll be happy to talk with them and I'll give you my opinion.
Awesome. Dale, thank you so much for taking the time. My internet is showing me that it's unstable, so I hope you can hear me. Again, I'll repeat that. Thank you so much, Dale, for taking the time to come on tonight. I'd love to have you back on in the future, so we'll get that going. Next week, I have my dear friend and San Diego Paranormal Research Society co-director with me, Ali Schreiber. It'll be great to talk with her. Again, Dale, thank you so much. Can't wait to get back out there to work with you guys over at the Ghost Research Society. And hope everyone has a good night. The archive should be up. A show should be up in about a half hour or an hour. One last thought is here at the Afterlife Chronicles, we are bridging the gap between mortality and the afterlife, one experience at a time. Thank you so much and have a great night. Good night.
Thank you.